Hello, hello, hello. Are you there? Okay, so maybe somebody's shy. We'll bring them in later. They're an active listener, but we're going to keep it moving. So this is Ty Jones. I'm your girl with the pipes and the voice. I am the voice, and the voice of the people is the name of the show. You can catch me on Blog Talk Radio, and the show will stream live after we air tonight. It will go straight to Facebook, and then within 24 hours, everyone can pick it up on iHeartRadio, Spotify, SoundCloud, and a few other streams, YouTube. So, ladies, your show is being listened to. I was actually checking the stats tonight. We got a lot of fan base from the Philippines listening to this show, as well as parts of Paris, Nigeria, and some of the West Coast is showing us a lot of love. So I totally appreciate those that are calling in or listening in from the Philippines. Thank you all for joining the Voice of the People, and we're going to continue to keep this flowing. We do have one more caller calling in. Let's check and see who this is, and maybe they have some questions for the ladies up for the breast of us. Area code is 253. Last four digits are 2669. What's your name and where you're calling from? And could you turn down your music, please? Hello, hello, hello. All right, we're going to keep that moving. Let's just keep it moving, ladies, and let's continue with the broadcast. Marissa and Jasmine, my main focus for tonight, for the breast of us. Let's get into some meat and potatoes and facts and figures that you guys would love to share with our listening audience tonight. For those that may just be, like myself, I have just been affected by this disease. I was diagnosed back in April. It was a very surreal moment. I went in back in October in Hawaii, and I got my mammogram done for the very first time in my life. I was 45 years old. When I traveled to Texas, my doctors sent the medical records to the new doctors, and they were told that there is an abnormal mammogram. They said it was a buildup of calcification, and so what they did was they pretty much said that we have to go in. They did a biopsy, they did a sonogram, and then in April, when I was in North Carolina, I started attending Wake Med, and my oncologist, she read me the results of the biopsy, and she said, Miss Welch, you are positive for stage 0 breast cancer. It's trapped inside the milk duct, and you have a few options. I went with the mastectomy. I was talking to Jazz about that earlier today. I chose a mastectomy because I just was all or nothing. I had a total hysterectomy done in 2017, so I'm just gutting myself out. I prefer to do it that way. Sounds raw, but I prefer to just take it out and no fear of it returning, and God willing. And so I had a double mastectomy, and then the breast implants. So I'm cancer-free, thank God. Nipples were preserved, and now I'm just trying to heal from the soreness and all of these operations. And so that's my tiny testimony, ladies.
Congratulations. I'm so glad to hear that you are, besides the surgeries and everything, that you are cancer-free right now. That is definitely a blessing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, ladies, why don't you share with our listeners, we'll start with you, Ms. Marissa, first, if you'd like to share a little bit of your testimony and your desire and passion for starting For the Breast of Us, if you don't mind.
Okay. So I was diagnosed in November of 2015 at the age of 35 with stage 2, 35% ER positive breast cancer. So what that means is that my breast cancer was estrogen positive. It had a hormone receptor of estrogen, but it was only at 35%, which a lot of the doctors told me is rare. That's not something that people usually have. If you are hormone receptive, it is usually over 50% or higher. So for my course of treatment, they treated me like I was triple negative, even though on paper I'm not triple negative. For my treatment options, the whole thing that I did, I chose a lumpectomy instead of a mastectomy. like I tell women to this day now, definitely go on ahead. You do all your research, and whatever you do, you choose to do for yourself, because this is your life, it is your body, and at the end of the day, you are going to be the one that has to live with it. Not your friends, not your family, not your neighbors, not your coworkers. So you make sure whatever decision that you decide that you want to do is for you. So I chose to do a lumpectomy. And after that, a month later, I did chemo. I did adriamycin and Cytoxan, AC, or quote unquote, what everybody calls it is the Red Devil. And then after that, I did Taxol. I took about 3 weeks off after Taxol, and then I had radiation. And after that, I had 2 reconstruction surgeries. Right now, I just this past June, I just made it to my mark of being 3 years cancer-free. When they took my tumor out, they got all clear margins. They were able to get the tumor out clean. They didn't want to say that I was cancer-free at that point because I still had to do an aggressive treatment because my cancer was aggressive. So once I was done with chemo, then they said that I was. They could consider me cancer-free, or like what I like to say is actually no evidence of disease. So 2 more
Thank
years.
God.
Yes. 2 more years, and then I will reach that mark. So that's pretty much my story in a nutshell. One of the reasons why I wanted to form For the Breast of Us is because, one, when I was going through treatment and I was up late at night and couldn't sleep, just high off of steroids, like a lot of people know that go through chemo, I went on Instagram just trying to find other women who were like me that were going through the same thing. Because, when we were coming up, you always thought everybody that got breast cancer, they were older women. And I'm like, that can't be the case.
Okay, so hold on, Marissa. Everybody that's in this studio right now, I'm opening up those mics because what you said, I don't even think you know what you just said, but my sister, what you said was so fucking profound that I need everybody to say an amen to that. Can we all say amen to that?
Amen.
Amen. Yes. Keep going, because you're bringing tears to my eyes, because I was the same way. I was one of those that I thought because I had small breasts, it's not going to happen to me. I used to examine myself and say, well, I'm a B cup. Ain't nothing happening. So please continue, but I just had to have the ladies cheer in on that one because that just brought tears to my eyes. Like, your story right now is touching me in such a powerful way. Please keep going.
Thank you. So, even when I would go into my appointments, all the doctors would tell me, they would ask me how old I was, and I would say 35, and they would be like, oh, my gosh, you're so young to have gotten breast cancer. And, my response to that was, well, tell me something that I don't already know. I know I'm young, but I have breast cancer, so what are we going to do about this? So going online to look and see if there was anybody like me, I didn't see anybody that was young, and I just searched the hashtag breast cancer, and that's kind of how I started finding different people. That's one of the ways that I found Jasmine online, a couple of my other friends, some of the other ladies who I'm still friends with to this day. But the one thing that stood out to me is I didn't see a lot of not only just Black women, but just women of color who either their Instagram just wasn't public, so I couldn't see what was going on, or if they were diagnosed. But there was a small collective of them. And what I noticed about a year out from treatment is that a lot of the women of color who were online, they were passing away from this disease. So I'm like, something's not right here. It's not adding up to me. And I know when I met Jasmine at the Young Survivors Coalition Summit this past March, her and I both sat down and we just started talking, and we had some of the same ideas. Like, okay, how can we bring women of color together who all have this quote-unquote bond or this club that we're in, and how can we elevate their voices and their stories so other women out there can see what it is that they're talking about? I know for myself, I'm a very private person. Only the people that were close to me knew what was going on. And one day I just decided, and I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and make my Instagram public so other people could see kind of what I'm going through. And I think we were taught, as not even just Black women, but women of color, whenever you're going through something like you're sick, there's a cloud of shame over that. And you're not supposed to show people that that's what you're going through. And I know for me, that was it. For example, when I lost all of my hair, I didn't want my son to see me bald. So I would make sure that I always had something on top of my head. But we need to get past that. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with mental illness, right? Nobody wants to talk about it within communities of color, but we know that that's a big issue that needs to be talked about. Same thing with breast cancer.
I agree with you. I agree with you because I'm going to bring you in, Jazz, to expound on Marissa's testimony, because you shared with me the same similar story with her. But I love the two of you guys' chemistry and the connections. It seems like you guys were it was like God ordained the two of you to come together. And when, Marissa, when you speak of mental illness, I speak that from the rooftop here on out, and I've spoken of that live because I, too, am a person that takes, I take an antidepressant. I'm not afraid to say it. Thank God for Trazodone, because if not, I'd be cursing everybody out right now. And I thank God for that little pill, because I know me, and I'm definitely, I could be that Bronx chick like a Cardi B and go from 0 to 10 in 2 seconds. But I thank God for women like Jennifer Lewis, who are big advocates of mental health, and Taraji P. Henson coming up and coming forward. And it seems like since these ladies and others have been so vocal about mental health, it has become more relevant, even in our community, to not be so embarrassed. And Marissa, to add to what you said, I, too, felt embarrassed, I have to admit. The first immediate feeling was, oh, my God, this can't be happening to me. And I wanted to isolate myself. I wanted to keep this to myself and not talk to anyone. And when you speak of chemo, I also empathize with you because my niece was diagnosed with cancer in the liver at 2 years old. Mackenzie is 8 years old now, cancer-free, and my sister, Ebony, God bless her, she shaved her head when Mackenzie was going through chemo. And Mackenzie had lost all her hair. She was so frail and tiny, and she was at Duke Hospital getting treated. And now my baby is 8 years old. She's a cheerleader. She's a dancer. She's an actor. She's doing her thing, and she's like my little butterfly. And I keep her picture next to my bed every night because that 8-year-old woman is an inspiration to me, and she just made me want to do. And when I hear her say, I kick cancer's butt, that it makes that inspired me to be like, yo, if my 8-year-old niece is going all out, I got to go all out too. I got to.
Right.
Absolutely. And Jazz, you and Marissa, you guys just seem so organically connected, and you're young. So give me a little bit of insight on the two of you connecting and how that made you feel and empowered you guys to continue with For the Breast of Us.
Well, I think we were diagnosed probably about a year apart. I was diagnosed at 26, and like Marissa said, we connected through Instagram, and then we met in person. For me, I found out about the Young Survival Coalition. One of my former bosses, her daughter has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and she told me about Young Survival Coalition. And so as it was leading up to the event, I was doing a lot of hosting. It was going to be my second time because that was this year. People don't realize like how fast a lot of this stuff happened. We met in person for the first time in March of this year, and we did have kind of this mutual experience. We were there. We had mutual friends, and we were kind of feeling like outsiders in that friend group. And then we attended a session about diversity and inclusion, and we thought it was like going to be diversity and inclusion in the community, but it really turned out to be more so in clinical trials. And some of the attitudes and statements that were made, it was really eye-opening for us. And for me, I remember like standing up and saying, like, if we need something new, I'm willing to lead it, but we have to get people willing to work on one accord. So I think that's one thing that's working against us in the communities of colors. So many people are willing to start the new thing, but no one wants to work together. We have to work together to do this. So when we left the YSC Summit, we were like, okay, do some ideas that we have. And we like kept in touch every day. And I think the realization that we could do this from coast to coast was there were some conversations about the YSC board president and then realizing that the YSC board is scattered. I think most people think you have to see somebody every day